Hi everyone. Right, usual thing. Can you stick it in the chat? Assume you can hear me alright. Oh, I did do a check, but can you just type? Just make you can hear me. I'll hold on for that. Brilliant. Okay. Right. So I'm going to try and keep this one half hour, 40 minutes. Probably won't happen. But today's quite interesting. Lots to talk about. But basically, as I said before, I've been working on trying to get the project and define it in my head what I think it should be. Yeah, go on, there you go. I have to be sure what the product is and specifications before I can make it, and it has to please me. I mean, never mind you lot. It's gotta make me happy. So I don't know if I'm the harshest critic, but I do like things to be just right. If you're wondering why I'm out of focus, it's so that the 1000's in focus. So it's been some experimentation. I'm not saying this experimentation is ended, but I've kind of come to decisions on certain things, which I'm going to go through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you where I am and the progress that's been made. Might mention the fact that I'll keep sticking 12 volts into 5 volt devices, which is really annoying. I've done it a couple of times now, and we'll go through this, and then we'll the usual thing. Is it, oh, the audio's a bit low, is it? Hang on. I mean, you've always got a volume. Oh, that's going by that. Oh, hang on. Is this any better? Well, it's boosting up all right here. Turn your volume up. So I just want to basically go through where we are. Right. So most of you realise there's the panel, and that's I've put a remote control on it because people complain about the LED. Oh, that LED's too bright. We don't want that in the product. You know. But it's very annoying and it's off-putting, so I put that in there to stop the bright light. But as you can see, the first prototype, I mean, I've been using it for a while, and one of the key things for me with this project was had to be able to work my 1000 well. That's it. I mean, I know, and that sounds weird. Has to be able to do lots of other things, but if I can't use it on my 1000 and it works great, then what's the point? Brief recap. Let's put this on here. This was the original board, and it's now the final board. There was potentially going to be a change because there's a problem getting this chip, but I prefer this board because it has tons of I/O, and it's actually just straight out the gate. It's very well suited for retro kind of stuff. So, as I've mentioned before, now I've put these sockets on here. We're actually going to be. I'm going to come to the subject of boards a bit later on, but I've got a load of connectors on the back end. You can see basically we've got here. This is the actual board. So there's a fair bit of input. You know, HDMI, VGA. There's 2 composites. That's actually a composite out as well, which is quite handy. Whatever composite is playing on the screen gets output from there, which is actually quite handy. And then of course audio for the VGA and then a USB, so you can play your movies on it. But more importantly, it's got 2 composite, well, they call it AV, but 2 composite inputs. And so, but they actually also share a stereo input audio. So as you can see here, this block here basically will connect internally on a connector. One of the things I really like about this board is it's got these internal connectors, so you can put either override these from the back or put extras like the component in, which is absolutely fantastic. Allows me to do an awful lot, and I've also got like 5-volt feeds come off of it, that kind of thing, which is really useful. So as you can see, this is I've been playing with my 3D printer. I had a lot of fun with it. I found the secret to getting a reliable bed: put a raft down. If ever you buy a 3D printer, don't struggle. Put a raft down. It should be a setting in heated beds. Oh, stick in, right? Just put a raft down. Solves all your problems. So, as you know, with this case, the idea of the monitor is to... Yeah, I know I'm not in focus. The 1000 is. The idea is... I've lost my plot now. The idea is to have pods, okay? So you can stack these pods. Now, that's the first one, which is the controller panel with all the I/O. Now, for a lot of people, that be enough, because a couple of composites put a couple of units, a couple of things in. You've got the VGA, HDMI for your Pi or for your Mistar, or if you've got, you know, HDMI outputs. It is a cheap facelift, yeah. Very good. But, you know, I don't want this thing to be bulky just for the sake of it. And plus that, I actually want to put stuff in it. So there's two kind of areas of upgrade. Now, one of them is that you can put in pods. I'm calling them pods. I'm going to nick the name because I like it. And you can stack the pods on top of each other. Right, let's grab a couple. So there's a pod, and you can stack them up. Although you can't actually see it on the camera because I put it too close. Let me put it back a bit. There you go. So 1, 2, 3, and so you can stack these pods. Now they could be, you know, like these devices, you know, like the upscalers or the GBS, which I'm going to come back to in a minute. Can you see my my design? Look at that! Isn't that wonderful? Or things like a Pi on a tray, or a Mister on a tray, or OSSC. Let's show this. OSSC. Okay? All these things can go inside and enhance the capabilities of the system. Right. But I've been spending this time concentrating on what's the best thing to do for a lot of people. Now, as I said, this can do a lot. It's surprising, and it's got this component input. Sadly, it won't support non-interlace, which is really frustrating because these are amazing. These composites actually, I'm not going to say they're like RGB, but the signal in there, it gets flicker fixed and stabilised. It's bloody good. When you've got an Amiga screen, it's surprisingly good going for these composite inputs. Really, really surprised about that. But of course, it's an internal video type scaler, and I think it looks great. I think you've probably seen me run the my N64 on it, which looks really nice. But of course, people want other things than that. So we have products like this, which is the RetroTink. Now this is a RetroTink Mini at the bottom. Now, no one put. Hopefully, no one's gonna put in there. You got 2 in there. Yes, I know. But the idea of this chassis is to design one mount that you can put both in, so whichever one you want, it's the same one. And it also can control the switches on the back. So you just pull originally it was going to push was going to be too complex and too expensive, but I found if you just literally just pull, same with this, control in the back. So you can put a RetroTink 2X Pro or 2X Mini in there, and that will give you your Super VHS. Okay, and that's how that's going to work. So that's going to take a pod, and of course you can use the gaps for anything else. I mean, it's up to you. Now, as I said, there'll be another one for the OSSC, but that's now looking a bit less like. No, we'll be doing it. I am going to be doing it, but we're going to do quite an advanced version of this. But I can't give too many details apart from saying things like the LCD will have to go at the front of the monitor, so it'll be on a flying lead. A few things will be on a flying leads and that kind of thing, and there'll be you move the VGA around the side, and all those kind of little subtle bits. But that's you know, originally I was thinking that this was going to have to be the main thing. Okay, all that's changed. Now, So what we've got here, I've been experimenting. I've got 3 or 4 GBS 8200s. As you can see, I've got these. You can see these flying leads. Now, I've left the leads on for now, right? But basically, the GBS is okay as a standalone. It works, but you know it was never particularly brilliant. But this project, which some of you are going to be aware of, which is this firmware. Let's see if I can find it. This little device here, EPS 8626. No, 82. It's a firmware controller board, but it's also got Wi-Fi. It's got and it's got a web server built on board, right? Which I'm going to show you why it's so good. Now, putting these two together make a fantastic scaler. Now, bearing in mind that from China I can get these parts really inexpensively with a frame. Now, this is not the right frame, okay? This is the first one. This is changed completely. I might forget time to show you that. But the reason that for it changing is I was going to ask Rob if he could put this on a board for me, and this can do SCART. Now, here's the secret sauce. Now, just on its own, if you look at my 1000, now you notice I had the ACA boot screen there. OSSC wouldn't show it reliably. If it was on for a while, it would work. That's it. Thanks. ESP8266. That's it. It would not show it, and I had real trouble with trying to get the OSSC to work. And so for an Amiga user, to me it was almost pointless. Great, amazing device, but for that particular use case, now this solved it. Okay, literally, you saw the screen was there, and also the one thing it couldn't do, if you put multiple resolution screens overlapping, different kind of screens, and I'll give you an example. If I run Can Do up, okay, you see it on the screen. So you've got that high resolution screen at the bottom and a low resolution screen at the top. OSSC would just blank, it wouldn't do anything. Now, I'm sure it could be fixed, but for something that's that expensive, inside there is one of these with that. Okay, we'll be coming to that shortly. This is why it's quite a good, important stream, this one, because I'm getting to the point where I'm really happy with what I'm trying to put together. Now, another thing about this, if I turn this tablet on and you look at this, God is my gorgeous wife. Hang on a second. And not that it really matters you seeing this, because it's... Right, can you see that? The thing with this device is this little firmware, at the moment it's not a couple of flying leads, but it's going to be on an actual board with the SCART connector. Now the SCART connector will be the final glory of, shall we say, because at the moment on these you've got a really good component input. Ignore that because it's only for certain devices and doesn't work on Amiga, but inside there's a connector that can go to SCART, so you can have RGB SCART, which means you can plug your Amiga. Now that's where this other board I'll come to in a second comes into it. But as you can see on this screen here, this little controller firmware has some of you may well know this, but you can control this over Wi-Fi on a website actually built into the device. So from here I can go to here. Yeah, now if you watch that screen and watch it move, if you look at my Amiga, see it moving and back. Oh, too far. You can adjust it. You can adjust the movement. You can adjust the now. Leave the scale alone for Amigas. Oh, I think my no. Leave the scaling alone for Amigas because it's just do it. I'm going to do a video on that. It's a separate subject. I just want to show you. And of course you got this thing with the borders. So I had to mess around to get it just right. Yeah, I thought that was going. Hang on, camera's coming back. So it allows me to control it, and I've managed now to get the Amiga to be almost perfect in the middle of this, perfectly set up. It's absolutely fantastic. So this Now the only problem with this was it's a board, and I wanted something a bit neater than that. So I was going to ask Rob to design a board. I knew exactly what I wanted. I wanted to have the firmware put on a board with some connections onto it, so I can have little short connectors going into it, and a SCART plug at the back, so you can plug in via SCART. So I found this video. Is this the one? There you go. Now this is by a guy called Byron, and I spoke to him the other night, and I saw this video, and he's built exactly what I want. I mean, I know the connector's in the wrong position, but basically it's exactly what I want. It's got everything I want on that board. So I spoke to him the other day, and he's agreed to come on board and work with me on this. So this saves Rob a job. He's going to make that so they will sit side by side. Now, so on, let me go back to here. So basically, you can see here, this board, the GBS, is going to go that side, and his board is going to turn on this side, and it's going to plug in there with SCART at the back, and so you'll have your VGA, which is certain devices. You'll have your hang on a second. You'll have your component input, but you'll also have the RGB on SCART, which means that all you guys with 23-pin to SCART adapters, you'll be able to run it on here, and anyone with an RGB SCART cable, right, will be able to run it. Anyone who's got, before anyone asks me what about Super VHS, one of these, stick on a RetroTink 2X Mini, does the job fantastic, and they're not too expensive. They are out of stock. They come in stock, buy one, because if you're going to go with this, then that's the one. If you want Super VHS, to buy that. So what we've got there is a great product. Byron's going to make this, he's designing these prototypes up for me at the moment, and that'll make it literally for me, plug in a couple of connectors, ship it out the door. So it's nice, straightforward. Now this is where it gets interesting, because I'm hoping, I haven't completely decided yet, but it is going to be a massive part. It's going to be, unless something goes pear-shaped, which I can't believe, it's going to be a massive part of the project, because it's very inexpensive for me to buy, and I can put. My aim is to put one of these boards with the firmware in every single monitor. That's the plan. However, it may be that I do that as the main monitor, but have a version for people that don't have that, because you might not want that, because if you just need HDMI, or you know exactly what you want to put into it, you just want the 4:3 aspect ratio with a nice panel and the looks and everything, and you want to add that maybe later, then that's just wasted expense. But that's where I stand at the moment. So there'll probably be a cheaper version, and then that one will just be, it won't be an awful lot more money. So that will be like the next step up. So the OSSC is probably going to become an extra. I don't even think you're going to need it. I mean, I'll be fair that the quality OSSC is better. Okay, I know people get really tied up with and I get it, the low latency, but the latency of this board is amazing, absolutely amazing. The only difference is I think it's a full frame scan doubler, whereas this is a line scan doubler, and there's a difference in the way it draws. So you will always get a better quality with that, but it will add £100 onto the price. So that's something to bear in mind, but it's always going to be there as an option. That's another reason for making this one not default. So you could just go for the OSSC version you want. I think, especially me groaners, you should go for this version, because it is absolutely amazing. And the most important thing is, like, for example, the 1000, I've had no problems with it. It just works. Everything works. Every screen works. It just runs. And I've had it on the 1200. I've also now, because I've got my HDMI free, so I'm going to be putting probably next time you see it, I'll have my Vampire in my 1000, and I'll show you it flicking screens between the RGB and HDMI. So as an Amiga owner, I think that's definitely the route for me. And most, I mean, my BBC, I've got RGB cable for that. That would just go into the SCART, so I can plug. I've got my Amiga plugged in via component at the moment for a little adapter, which I'll try and find. I haven't got one here. But of course I could plug it in by SCART, but there's lots of options. So I think it's going to be the way to go. And I love the fact of being able to control it by this panel. This device here. And there's also, if you come into here, if you could switch on a developer mode, it has developer mode. In fact, it was going in developer mode that I then went into this and it more advanced settings, and that's how I cracked getting that, because I was having trouble getting it filling the screen and so on with this in the PAL resolution kind of thing. But I got it working and it's absolutely working fine. The best thing is you just in the profiles, you save a profile. I've got Amiga 1000 profile there, and if it's highlighted, that's the default. So when you turn it off and you turn it back on again, it just powers straight up, and it's in that mode, and it's absolutely fantastic. Is Alia? Okay. I don't know if Byron's actually on here, is he? Oh, well, yes, he is. Looks like it. Okay, cool. So, yeah. So things are coming. I know now I've got Byron on here. I'll have a look at the comments in a minute. I'm really pleased, and by the way, I have downloaded the latest firmware, because this is actually fairly up to date. This firmware. I mean, I only downloaded it probably 2 weeks ago. But if there's anything new, then great. You can get an OLED and controller that doesn't need web interface. Yeah, and this is what I mean. I'm still kind of fine tuning, because that might be something. Because I wanted to put on the front of the panel a little LED for the OSSC. A little one of that, and I like the idea of having a door. So it popped. Now the door is an interesting subject for Amiga fans, because they fall off and you lose them. So I'm probably going to make one that you can't lose, but still have one. Not worked that one out yet, but I'm sure I'll get to something. But then you'll be able to have a little. I've always said there'll be buttons and then my power switch, because people have been asking for that. But a user port panel, so you can put whatever you want in there. You can put like USB ports or control, anything you like in, and 9-pin DINs. But also you can, if you've got one of them, you could put that in the front, and have a couple of buttons. Or I don't know yet. Those things are still to be decided. Main thing is I'm absolutely convinced now with this board and my floppy controller, it's going to give a good experience for Amiga fans. Let me just kill this actually. There we go. I'm just really pleased with it. So, right, let's get on to the next subject. I suppose the Kickstarter. It's still going to be a little while, but what I'm thinking, there's a show coming up, the OLL show in Norfolk. Now, I'm only thinking at the moment. But my plan is to potentially launch the Kickstarter, for example, 2 weeks before the show. So get a big build up for that. And then at the show, the last week, 2 weeks, will be after the show. And so you can come and see the prototypes. If you really want to see them before you put your name down, you'll be able to see the prototypes at that show, because I'm going to have them. Obviously, I might even order 2 now, and I'll probably have 2 or 3 monitors sitting there, and you'll be able to come along and have a look at the quality and see what you think and have a play. So that's my plan for the Kickstarter, which means kind of pushing it back a little bit, because it's going to be quite a long Kickstarter anyway. So I'm really positive. It's got me down a bit sometimes, but right now I'm really feeling it's all kind of coming together, especially now I've got Byron's going to do the board for me. He's going to save Rob. Rob had already agreed, because he's so busy, but I talked him round, and he's going to help me with the board, because I do need this little sub board that's going to go in here. So with all these connectors will mount onto a sub board, which will connect into the connectors in there. He's going to do that for me, and yeah. So it's looking pretty good. I've just now let me put on the screen. Let me switch to 2chat and I'll show you where we are with the design. So you probably remember this is the old design, and the worst thing about this basically was this whole area here. Stupid. The openings were too small. I also did something really stupid with hindsight. This is why I made this prototype, because sometimes you just can't tell these things. You need to get your hands on it. So I built this, and if I turn off the rear panel, these bars going across here, you can't work on it. It's ridiculous. So all that's gone, and now the new chassis. I've got the chassis more or less designed. You can see a massive, great big opening in the back, and so the trays will actually be. The trays will be like the lip. These will kind of lay on top, but you'll notice they're a lot bigger, and you can get your hands in, and all that will be open, so you'll be able to work. Someone did suggest having a tray that you remove, which is not a bad idea. The only concern is there'll be lots of cables that'll be connected, and I think if we did that, people would yank it out, rip all the cables out. They'd forget and rip the cables out. So. Well, I did think, maybe I could do some kind of backplane board you slot into, but Jesus, that'd be so expensive. Just too much for initial, product. So yeah, this one will be in there. You'll be able to slide this out. I'm going to have those supporting, but it'll be supported from the sides, so it'll slide in, and then you just screw it in. But that's you can see we're going to have bigger speakers now. The speakers I'm on my second set. I found a really good pair of speakers, but they're no good for actually buying. I've got two pairs come in slightly different models, and I'm going to try them. Hopefully then I'll pick a set of speakers, because whilst I'm not trying to make it hi-fi, it's nothing like that, but I want it to sound good, and the speakers I've got in the loft actually sound pretty good, pretty bassy, bassy-ish, but that's kind of what I want to try and achieve with this. Have some nice speakers, and of course I've got a stand. So you can see I've got that, and if I turn on the 19-inch panel, you see we've got the panel there as before, and I can put my bezels on. There's a 19-inch bezel. So it's the same thing as before. And if you want the set, now I've also put an indent here, give it a bit of texture. If I turn that off and put that one on, and then put the set, if I turn that bezel off, and then you can see the brackets, so that brackets that hold the one. Now, I've said this before, but if you want a 17-inch panel, in theory they're more expensive than the 19-inch panel. Now it won't be, but they will be the same price. So especially as I've only got 20%. I did a poll, only 20 in two places. Most 20% of the total number want 17-inch. So I get the point with the nice fat bezels. That's why I did it. But I've never wanted a 17-inch. I've only ever wanted a 19. I just sort of do it as an option. So it's that. Or that. In fact, hang on, let's put the right one on. Yeah, there you go. So you get a thinner bezel, but a bigger display. Because I'm not increasing the size of the monitor. Because you can see, the size looks okay on the 1000, and on like a mini ones, there, it sticks out a bit. But yes, so the design is coming on. I've just got to do the back panel now. I was trying to just finish off these for the sides. There's going to be a chin, as I mentioned, underneath, so it'll come down about an inch underneath, and that's for all the buttons, the big power button, and then the little control buttons, and then the user panel. Yeah, it's coming on. I've got to sort out the rear panel. I've got to redo that rear panel, and I'm going to stick with the same kind of idea. If I put the rear, this is the old version. As you can see, I've extended the rear, so it's actually going to come out another inch to give myself some more room, because what I've found is when I put this in, it would work. Not that I'm necessarily going to use that power connector. I'll probably put 90 on it or something like that. But it is a bit close to the screen. So I'm going to give it another inch, give it a bit more space. But it's not like we're going to be lacking in it. It'll also give it a bit more depth, make it a little bit more retro. And but along that, but it's going to be different to that. It's going to probably have the hump. If you remember the 1084, it's going to have the hump in the up here, right? But I'm going to use the hump and put so you can put your hand in and lift it, because people were asking for that, and I thought it was quite a good idea. So put some reinforced metal in there as well. But we'll have it so you can lift it, not carry it for too far, because you'll only probably have about that much. Put your fingers in, but it might be nice to be able to pick it up and move it around and drop it down. So yeah, that's going to be going in. And also the vents on the top, instead of going across, they're going to come back, and that's because when you do injection molding, they won't be able to pull that out, and they just won't be able to get it out of the mold. So I'm going to try and pre-do some of the work for the mold, the injection molding on this. So the next version should be quite close, and then of course there's a stand. I haven't even tested the stand yet. Square base, looks stupid with round, so we're going to have square, bigger than this one obviously, but on a ball. Okay, so I'm going to see how that works. But that might be the biggest headache, is actually getting that stand to work nicely. But yeah, so making good progress, which I'm really pleased. Right, let me see if there's any questions in here. Yeah, if the audio is low, sorry about that, just turn volume up. Yeah, Reaper Man, those are BNC connectors. I can have phonos on there, but I quite like the BNCs. But when we have the subboard, it will reproduce these. Oh, hang on. Let me switch back to... Right. When we have the final board, I'll have phonos, and that basically they reproduce that. So you'll have your BNCs if you want. Because some machines like the BBC Micros, they have BNCs. So having BNC for composite, them two on there, these will be the same signal. Okay, these two here be the same signal. But then you've got the component that is part of this. Now, here's the thing. This component, the quality that comes off that on the panel is just amazing. It really is amazing. The really sad thing is, it doesn't do non-interlace. So if you go non-interlace, it doesn't understand it, and there's no way we can change that. That's why we need something like the GBS. But you can run the Amiga in interlace. If you're not keeping interlace modes, you're laughing, or a device that runs in interlace all the time. So you've got them modes there as well, which are really, really good. So there's going to be an awful lot of ports on this thing. And then, of course, when you've got that, then you'll have, sitting above it, you'll probably have this one with the more powerful component input, with the upscaling for non-interlace modes and low resolutions and all that kind of good stuff. You'll have the CGA will be able to go. I think actually the CGA comes from these connectors, so I may have to look into putting that so you have another one of these, And then there's don't worry about that. It's just bits I haven't screwed it in properly. And then there's a SCART will come from this connector onto the board, the subboard, and then you have a great big SCART interface in the back. So that'll be that. And then if you want, because obviously the only thing really that it's actually missing is a Super VHS. There's no easy way for me to do this. So just here's your board. Buy one of these Retro Tink. If you're definitely getting a monitor, okay, if you're definitely getting one, I would buy one because they're out of stock at the moment. He doesn't know he's going to make them yet. He's got you can get the Pros, but they're quite expensive, and I don't think you're going to need it. So I could be maybe wrong, but I don't think you're going to need it. And ignore this because it's going to be a much neater little panel mount behind Super VHS connector, and that then plugs in the side here. Or if you've got the Mini 2X, then it's just there, and you won't have there to be empty. But again, you've got these little. You just pull them. Hopefully it doesn't seem tacky, but I tried doing it as a push. But I just couldn't get it to work, and I can do it if I do multiple parts, but I'm trying to make this few parts as possible. So basically what we have here is 3 distinct parts. You have the base, and you have this block here, because they have to be moulded, and then these, which are just not these out of 10 pennies, so you'll get like that'll screw onto the base, and then these 3, and you just poo whichever one you're going to put in, even to the point that they've got a curve on these, and I've reproduced the curve inside so it sits neatly. It's not meant to be tight. Okay, the idea is if you want to take it out, you just do this. Actually, that's a bad choice because that one is a little bit on the tight side. Let's do it with this one. As you can see, I'm experimenting. Right, so you just get that, put it forward, pull it out, yeah, and you can take them both out and then you flip them out. So if you want to use it on something else, you better flip them out, put them in there. So that's that should be quite nice to do. As far as the powers, the HDMI, well actually fun enough, the HDMI, I've got to drop that down. Look, the HDMI is a bit covered there. The HDMI and the power, there's on here there'll be 5-volt power lines coming off of it. So you'll be able to power your devices and it'll all run from that. And they've got big fat traces on the 5 volts, so you're fine. So yeah, I think this is coming on nicely. Let's have a look some more. No idea, Mr. Russian. Go and concentrate on your own stuff. You're not in focus. Yeah, no, cheap facelift. He needs Vaseline on the lens for close-ups. I like the computers to be the stars, not me. I forgot. Roughly how long does it take for your shipments to get to Canada? I'm thinking of ordering my case and internal bits to have in time for February vacation. Get the order in. Yeah, because I tend to do a batch every 2 weeks. I don't ship out every day. Because if I don't have a certain amount, I have to drive them up to the shipping agent. When I do a lot, they come to me and it's all good. But so I do a batch every couple of weeks. In fact, I don't even know what day it is, Monday now. This week I've got to send out a batch. So the next batch after that will probably go in 2 weeks' time, and it'll take a week to get there. So if you want it for then, you really want to get your order in. I'll do my best, but you know, it's it's difficult. He said he has the focus on the okay. I haven't actually seen the latest version of this firmware. Well, I've been using it, Byron. It's actually really good. I mean, I downloaded it a week, 2 weeks, 10 days ago, and that's the one you've seen. It is pretty good. I'm really pleased with it. This has gone to sleep. It gives this fantastic interface, and I love this developer interface. I think it's a brilliant idea, and it also gives you like a whole lot of more developer controls, really fine-tuned stuff, really nice. So as you can see, I can control that. Once you save your settings, it's set until you plug something else in or whatever. Hi Fuzzy. Anyway, there's not been much happening on the GPS control since last summer, so you're not missing too much. There's some nice OLED and rotary control add-ons there. Yeah, I'll have a look at the. I'm not so much the rotary stuff, but definitely the OLED panels. I might seriously have a look at that, because if that's the case, that'd be something that'd be really nice to have on there. You can get an OLED and controller that doesn't need the web interface. No, I agree with that, but it's actually nice having the web interface. I completely understand. It is a pain. You've got to log into it, etc. I get that, and it is better to do it that way. So we'll have a look at that and see what we're doing. But I'm at the moment, that's the way I want to go. Southwest Amiga, yeah, still too soon to show anything off, I guess. There is a Southwest Amiga group next weekend. Yeah, I wouldn't mind going. This whole bloody Omicron. I don't know yet. Maybe. I mean, I could bring the monitor down. I mean, it's not. I could bring it down with me, potentially, but I'm not sure really. I don't know yet. iPod, another one, sad to God knows. All this. Should we just get rid of these? Remove. I'm just going to remove a few silly ones. I'm assuming they just jumped in and remove. Right. There we are. Okay. I ever saw a poll, but I would definitely. Okay, so look, a lot of people want the 17-inch. I have the panels and I have the designs done, but here's the catch. It costs $6,000 to make the tooling to make the 17 and 6,000 for the 19. So it might end up being, because I'm obviously nervous about, because at the moment it's looking like I need to raise $250,000 to do this. 1,000 monitors is looking like, you know, it might be a stretch goal. I don't know yet. I haven't fully decided yet, but we're going to have to see on that. Because it's, as I said, there's not so many people want it. Now, having said that, you could find a lot of people just jump in and they would, you know, I might lose out. So I don't know. I'm still kind of thinking about that. But it is going to increase the tooling cost. Because it's not like I can have one tool does both, because they're the same size. They're just in a bit. No, you're not in a minority. You're in the 20 percentile. It's 20% of people. I actually thought it would be 50-50, like colours, because the black and the white, the colour, is 50-50, pretty much. Again, 50-50. But 17-inch, nah, not so much. Are those Unamiga ITX bundles still available? Yes, please buy one. I've got 17 left. I've actually hidden the bundle actually from the display. So if you do want it, just let me know. I want one. Email me, steve@amiga.net, and I'll send you the link to it. It's on the site, but it's under motherboards, I think. But yeah, they are still available. I already have a RetroTink, but it is the 2X Pro. I use it for S-Video and 64. So yeah, you came in late. Here. Yeah, that's what you're going to be getting. You'll be getting one of these. As I said, ignore that. It'd be a better one than that. It'd be a panel mount. But the cable will go from here and go out that way. And then you'll have everything on the back. All right, and it'll be powered by the controller board. So that's what you'll be getting, one of these boxes. And yes, ignore there's two in there, but that's just to show it takes both. Okay, so you just get one of them. And it's actually not won't be very expensive, assuming it's molded and not a 3D part. I already have RetroTink. Yeah, it takes, but it is Pro. I use for video. Yeah. Yeah. Look, you know that's, you know, that's a Pro. That's a Mini. Both work fine because Andrew loaned me the Mini, the Pro, and I bought the Mini, so I could make sure both work. Oh, is that bots? Oh, okay. Part of the problem with designing this in public is you get victimised for dropping a feature you mentioned offhandedly. No, I haven't dropped anything yet. Look, I don't tend to drop stuff. But the 17-inch, because look, 20% is still a hell of a lot. I just have to calculate that into the product. I mean, it's in the design, you've seen that. So I haven't actually dropped it. It just might mean that I need to sell more or put price generally up. But as long as everybody who wants a 17-inch understands, it's the same price as a 19-inch, because the panels are actually £3 more expensive, and the parts moulding, apart from that I've got to make another mould, the parts to make are about 20%, 30% more expensive because you get charged basically for material. So it's actually more expensive to make the 17s, so they will be the same price, but it will cost me more to make them. So, you know, bear that in mind. But no, I like the idea of 17-inch. I've splattered it everywhere. It's something I want to do. So I know I may talk out like this, but it's, you know, it would have to be a really dark day for me not to do it. Did you okay. I emailed you a question about the Unamiga subject, Unamiga question that I hope you can answer. If I not reply, I usually reply pretty quick. When did you send it? Because I don't really want to put my email client up, but I usually reply pretty quickly because I'm sitting here at the desk and it's a distraction. But if I haven't responded, here goes my camera again. There we go, put it back on again. Right, so is there any more questions? Because I'm kind of thinking we keep, because I mean I think I've pretty much explained everything. If there's anything you want to know, any questions you got, then just let me know. In fact, actually, I probably can just pop. Let me just have. Oh, hang on, look. No, I've not got nothing. So maybe you haven't sent it, or it got stuck in my filter. Send me a Facebook message if you like. It says I sent it on the 21st. Okay, well, in that case then, send me another one and I'll check my filter to see if we got it. If you sent it from a company with a kind of a mass email address, it might have dropped it in my filter. I may have to go looking for you. So if you're on Facebook, send me a Facebook message. Question off topic. I realise you've been busy with the monitor, but is there any progress on the Unamiga Wi-Fi module config? Oh god, yeah. Look, I have absolutely dropped the ball. Now, bear in mind, I've already published the link to the page that tells you how to do it, but it's not easy. Having said that, right, I've been learning quite a lot about these. I've been learning a lot about these things, and it's pretty much the same thing. So I'm gonna make I'm gonna jump onto it, and because I said I've got 17 left. I won't be making any more of these Amigas. I'd love to, but I can't afford to fund them because it's so much money and I've spent doing it, and so I've dropped the price on them. But but I really like the Amiga. I think it's fantastic, and with that, even though it's only like 115,000 baud kind of speed, it's fast enough for a lot of stuff, because no one's running YouTube, no one's running a browser on it apart from like Aminet or something like that. So I will get it going. I will get it going. I can't post it here, but if you remind me, email me and remind me, and I'll pop it up. I mean, I think it's pretty much on my group. It might be in the manual. But yeah, email me, Facebook message me, and then I'll pop it up so everyone can see it. But yeah, it's definitely out there. But it's a sod. It's difficult, but it's in there and it does work. But I just haven't set it up yet. But you're right. I mean, I've got a bunch of people out there bought it. They actually bought it to play games, to be fair. But it is one of the things that was obviously mentioned, and no one's complained. But it's something I want because I like the idea of having very basic TCP/IP access, so you can do messaging from it, and that's all I see it for, is messaging and going to Aminet and getting stuff, and maybe grabbing stuff from servers rather than pulling the drive out, that kind of thing, even though it's a bit slow. Right. Question: I forget how long the keyboards took to get to me. Oh, sorry, I didn't answer that question, did I? So usually 4 days to a week to the US or Canada. It's pretty quick, because you don't have problems with like the shipping. It's not like I'm sending it to Europe, because it's a bloody nightmare at the moment. So I would think, but I'll be honest. If you actually want to get it for the 21st, right, order it today or tomorrow. And also put a note on the. Make sure that you press submit note, add note. Put a note on there that you need it by. That's when you want it, and I'll do my best to get it out to you. But if it's a fairly basic one, and in fact, if you get your order in tonight or tomorrow, it'll probably get in the next batch. Otherwise, it's another 2 weeks, and then it's a week to get there. So you're kind of pushing it a bit, because I just can't do daily shipments. It's just not. I'm not set up for that. Right. Any more questions? Anything you want to see? I mean, you've kind of seen it. There you go. Where's my remote control gone? Here it is. Let's turn the picture. No. Turn down a bit. There you go. It's a little bit on the bright side, isn't it, for the camera? There you go. But yeah, so it works really nicely. But yeah, as I was saying, if I start the Kickstarter probably a couple of weeks before the show in Norfolk, usually it's a massive hit at when that first starts. But of course, I'll be showing a completely different audience. So give them a chance, or anyone to come along, see what they look like, and make your mind up at the show, and actually see one on the stand and see what they look like. Because I'm pretty much settled on panels. They are bloody expensive, but they give fantastic sideways view. In fact, I don't know if I can actually do this. Let me just see how well this is going to work. There you go. And you can still see it. The brightness might be a little bit now. Hang on, because I changed the brightness. It works okay with. Let's put the brightness back up to what it was. There you go. Put the brightness up. So you can still see it. Still looks great. Now it's too bloody bright. That's the trouble when you're recording, because I've got a light in here and it kind of bounces off it. But yeah, when you're looking in the flesh and you see it when it's normal brightness and turned up, and you just go aside, you can see it really nicely. Yeah. Okay, so Darius. Yeah. Look, well, let's be clear on it. As I said, I do a batch every couple of weeks. Once it ships and you get the message, then it depends where it's going. But the States is within a week. It can be pretty quick. So it usually goes by. Most of them go by DHL. But there you go. And yeah, but the thing on the 17 inches. Do you remember I made a lot of extra money on extras, and I did the boxes. Yeah. So the 17-inch panel is going to kind of fall under that. That is something I want, because it does look better with the bigger bezels. I mean, it really does, and I'll want one myself. So yeah, the bigger bezels are going to be quite important. I did consider a 15-inch, but I've shelved the 15-inch because it's a stupid idea. I did think about making a small one, but I just can't. It's just too expensive on tour. Maybe later on. I mean, if you know. Paul put checkmate displays kind of thing, and you never know. I'm trying to turn this into a day job, and the cases never quite did. Allowed me to drop my day work down to 3 days, but it's not a day job, and it's not enough, especially now, because what happens is you go over the hump, the big sales, and then it kind of levels out. The minis don't really sell that well. I mean, after the initial batch, I mean, I'll give you an example. I've sold about 1,200 plus cases and about 380 minis. So whilst the minis are really nice, and I really like the minis, most people buy the pluses because they want to put the 500, 1,200, 600s or build a big system. So I get it. Yeah, I always wanted a 19-inch panel because I've always liked the 19-inch. It reminds me of the old 21-inch CRTs, which are basically the same size. And I'm biased, but I think they look quite nice. Bit more depth now. It's going to give it just a bit more bulk, and they're quite heavy because that steel structure is. It's not light. It's like made of the same material I make my cases. It's inside, so it's hidden, but it's going to be powder coated again. So when people start moaning about they're going to be more expensive. Not that much actually. They're not going to be that expensive. When people moan about it, if you open it up and have a look what's inside, I mean, it's the same thing going on inside. What's with the Amiga hybrid name? Okay, well, look, I put that there, frustration. I for years, for a long time, I've been talking to, and this is nothing, not criticism to mine. Generally, I've said the same thing to Hyperion, I said the same thing to Cloento. I want to use the name Amiga Hybrid for my Linux/Amiga project, which Amikit, Jan from Amikit took over basically when he did the Pi version. Dimitri did all the software. Between them, they actually made it into a viable finished product. Because up to that point, it was just it was working, it worked nicely, but then it was just fine tuned by Jan. But if you haven't seen it, you should. Maybe I should do another video on it. I mean, Neil, I did something with Neil, the RMC Cave, and there's a good video he did on it, showing how it works. But the latest version is fantastic. It just makes turns the Pi into a high-powered Amiga, and it just feels right. It really does. I sold loads of them actually. Because with the Kickstarter with the minis, I shipped loads. I shipped probably 100, 130 Mystics and about 75 to 100 Pis. Not with the Pi, but with the software and everything. But yeah. Oh yes, that just a moment ago. Yeah, this is bigger than the Mini, but it actually doesn't look bad. It looks quite nice sitting on top of it. It looks big. I was about 1921s. Yeah, I know. But if you're running a 644, 80 on 800 or 800 by 600, so they do look better on a 15. Yeah, no, okay, I get that. The thing with the 17-inch, yes, I mean, I've got one up in the loft, which I do my testing on the 17, and I have this one sitting here, which is my 19-inch panel. And the 17, no, it's a nice panel. They're both pretty much identical panels, so they both work the same, turn and brightness and everything else, low refresh, that kind of thing. But yeah, so 17 cell to use, checking in. Rearranged my desk recently to fit on. Better than the 27 4K sitting on right now. Yeah, they can get a bit big. Yeah, I mean, on the subject of 15 kilohertz, if there's anyone here, just to give you a good excuse to just go, oh, I'm going now. Someone pointed me to a company to make 15 kilohertz panels, which I've never been a big thing on, but and I did go there and I contacted the company and they were quite keen, but then they said we ain't got any stock and we don't know when we're getting any. And if you want to look for panels, I'll give you a little test. There's a site called Panellook, PANELOOK.com. Go on that site, see if you can find a 15 kilohertz panel on there, and that's pretty much every panels that are made. What's in production, what's not. Go and have a look at that and see just how hard it is. There's nothing. And these other guys did have some, and you speak to the panel suppliers and they almost like they look at you blankly. Oh, what? And even the ones who know go, I only want one of them. So yeah. But so with the good scan doublers and I think it's pretty good. Were those the arcade panels you were considering? Yeah, you can't get them. I mean, look, as I said, just so you know, look, I'll share it with you guys. That panel, $110 on panel. Now, even if I buy 1,000 panels, $100, right? Bloody expensive, right? But they're great quality. They're designed for industrial use. Those 15 kilohertz ones, $269 retail. I don't know what the discount would be, but probably no better than 200. So you're going to pay possibly 60% more, say, for 15 kilohertz mode. So I don't know. I mean, I think, as I said, for the basics, this is going to be fantastic. If you really want to go for it, OSSC, I mean, there is an improvement, yes, because of the way it works. However, if you're an Amiga fan, personally, forget the OSSC. This is better. I'm not putting it. I had an OSSC in there. I had nothing but grief. I've done everything I could, trying to figure. I'm sure there's a way of figuring it out. With this, plugged it in, it worked. And then I've just fine-tuned it now, and I've managed to, because originally I was running 1280 by 720 mode. Now I've got it running at 720 by 576, and that's where I had to fiddle and move it around the screen because it was like shunted over to the right and there was all kinds of problems. But now I've got it done. I've saved the settings. It's fantastic. The only thing I've got, full disclosure, because just so you know, I've got some vertical lines. It's only on the 1000. The 1200's fine. The 1200 looks fine. But I've seen it before with cables, so there's something weird going on. Only doing it on the 1000. I'll get to the bottom of that. But again, you know, come to the show and you can see it. I'm pretty confident with the RGB into SCART you won't see it. I think, to be fair, I think it's because I've not got grounds between I've made a lead. I've not got the right lead, and I've got a leads connecting. I've got no grounds between them, and I think that's possibly what it is on this. I'm not 100% sure because if I plugged the 1200, it didn't do it. So it's something odd, but I'll get to the bottom of that. Yeah, apart from that, I think it looks great. Right, any more questions? Because I'm going to go. Any more questions? I'll give you a second. Oh, by the way, Byron, if you're still watching, thank you. I really appreciate the support. Because to be honest, Paul, it would have been Rob though, but Rob did say he would do it. But it just saves Rob, and he's such a busy man, and I'm gonna kind of be pushing him to do this because I want basically that panel there with the daughter board. It's quite a big. It's just basically a patch bay for all the connectors connecting into the board. But I want that, and it'd be nice and neat. There may be other bits too, like if you can see it's HDMI. Because here's an interesting thing. Once you plug onto the HDMI, it disables that one. So we're looking into doing HDMI switches. So you plug that, it goes into here. There's a switch, and then if you're not using the internal one, so if you're using this, you never have a problem because that doesn't use HDMI. It goes into VGA. And interestingly, the VGA port doesn't seem to suffer it unless you've got them both turned on at the same time. Yeah, again, this is all down to experimentation. One other thing. The power supply, 12-volt power supply for this, is a round one, which is the same as the 5-volt ones. So when I do it, I'm going to put a different connector on it, so it'll be a different power supply with a different connector, because I've blown up a couple of things. And some of you remember this, which obviously I didn't realise at the time, this thing, but allegedly there was some intellectual property infringements. I'm going to leave it at that. But this is the thing I nuked. Just blew it up. It smells great. In fact, I had it on HDMI switcher, and it went along the HDMI lead. The button on the HDMI switcher caught fire, and it went along the line and straight to my Mystics board. So the Mystics, I got the DE10. The DE10 survived. I don't know if the Mystics board has survived, so I got to do that. Right, okay, so look, I'm going to go now because I'm going to go see my lovely wife. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see. I'll probably do another one next week. I'm not sure if I've got anything for next week, but I might do something different for next week, just for the fun of it. But we'll see. I may have some different news, Mike's. I'll be a little while before I get the stuff from Mike. So, but yeah, I'll be in touch. I'll let you know if I'm doing another one next week. But unless there's any more questions, you've got a few seconds. I'm going to stop the streaming. Yeah, can't wait for Kickstarter, not me. It's nervy because this time I have to sell 1,000 monitors. But that's my, I've got to do the actual calculations. I've got a spreadsheet built for this now. But I sold 650 cases, and this goes across platform, and I think I'm hopeful. Yeah. Okay, look, guys, I'm going to go now. Thanks very much. I'll speak to you soon. Good to see you. I hope maybe see you next week. Thanks a lot. Bye.